Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we are in Oasis Springs. Right off the bat, this is not for my save file. At least I don't think it will be. Now that I say that out loud, I can't really be sure. But I wasn't anticipating that this was for my save file. I was just inspired by watching a particular show on Netflix recently. If you guys have not watched it, it is so funny. So I am from the New England area, and one of the well-known stand-up comedians is Bill Burr. Now, he is rather vulgar. He is kind of crazy, but we love him. He's our own redheaded Bostonian, and we absolutely adore him. So I love Bill Burr. I think he's wonderful. But yeah, I've been watching his show on Netflix. It's not like him actually doing stand-up or anything, but it is a cartoon that he came up with based, I think, loosely off of his life. I say loosely because I know it's not identical to exactly what he experienced, but it's just really, really, really good. It's a mixture of absolute hilarity and honestly just real down-to-earth problems, I suppose, that maybe family units experience. That's really overgeneralizing it because it's absolute madness, but it's called F is for Family if you guys have not heard of it or seen it. And I think it is so funny, and it is set in the 70s. So today we are building a mid-century home. Surprise, surprise, it's a 70s home, but I'm calling it It's a 70s House because I decided to go full authentic with this home. At least in my opinion, it feels very authentic to maybe the decorating style and some of the things that you would probably find in a 70s home. So watching that show, they have some really kind of honestly gross tile. They've got these weird carpet colors, the furniture's all different colors, these patterns don't match. There's just a lot of things that are mismatched and super vibrant, and yet it's mixed with dull things, and there's always this mixture of much older things with the newer kind of, I don't know, the shapes of things in the 70s was so, I don't know, out of this world. It was off the chain. I don't really know what would the phrase be for that time frame. It was groovy. That's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. So things were just really kind of odd shaped, and there was just this new evolution of design and style, and I just really loved it, and I loved seeing more and more of it in that show because apparently it is very, very authentic. My mother actually pretty much, I think I've mentioned this, her house is basically a mid-century house, at least on the interior. And she has a very keen eye for that style because she grew up during that time period, and she was watching F is for Family because I told her, you have to watch this. It is so funny. She loves Bill Burr too, so it was perfect. And she was like, wow, they really nailed the 70s, the style and the look and the mindsets and just everything. It's just so well done. And I wanted to do that. So I built this mid-century home, long story short, and I had an absolute blast with it. I did my best to find things that I thought would match the style on an interior, and I had a lot of fun with the landscaping too because I did want it to be pretty green since I did build this in the Vista Quarry lot, which is very green. As you can see, the surrounding area is very green and vibrant, so I did want to kind of match that, and I tried to use some of the plants, of course, that are in the surrounding world because I like my builds to blend in for sure. I also placed these little tiny flamingos, which I maybe have done once or twice ever in my entire life in building in The Sims, but I thought that was such a 70s thing, and I don't know why. I feel garden gnomes and flamingos and stuff like that out in the yard, the plastic ones, maybe around a pool area or something, would be totally a 70s vibe. So just full disclosure too, I am no expert in the interior design styles from the 70s or the exterior design styles. I'm honestly just going off of, I don't know, my exposure to those styles throughout my entire life and some reference pictures. I definitely am not an expert whatsoever. So half of the things that I do and the decisions I make in the design of this home are honestly just me feeling as though I'm capturing the look, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I love that 70s show, so I was kind of thinking of that a little bit too. And now we are finally on to the interior. So this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. I was hoping that it would be a little bit bigger, but I just didn't want it to be so big of a square or so big of a rectangle that it looked, I don't know, awkward. And I think the exterior of this home did look a little bit awkward until I did the landscaping and figured out the backyard, which I actually do last. So the first thing I did was lay down this carpet. It's not like overly bright or anything, but I thought that it was perfect for the look I was going for. And I figured that the inside probably had to have some kind of wood paneling. I was really looking for a wood paneling that was maybe a little bit more brown. Like, this is pretty muted. I wanted to use the one on the exterior on the interior, but I couldn't find another one to use on the exterior that looked as good as the one that I ended up deciding on. So I ended up just sticking with this one, and it is throughout the entire home. I immediately gravitated towards the Get Famous furniture that we got because it is very mid-century. However, I was kind of thinking again that this was maybe like a home or like a family, I should say, that lives in a home that is really transitioning from the 60s to the 70s. So maybe they've done like a lot of these fun upgrades because they really like the new style. So they have like this really cool rug. They have a really goofy lamp, that like giraffe lamp from, I think it's the not luxury party stuff. I think it's the vintage glamour stuff, which I thought was entirely appropriate. And they have this little tile part near the front door, and I end up, I think, using a fence to kind of divide it up. I was going to use the room dividers that we got with Get Famous, but I didn't want to overuse those items either because it felt too easy, so I kind of wanted to challenge myself a little bit and use different items. I also waited to place a lot of the windows in this build because I wanted to ensure I had a thought out floor plan prior to laying them all down. So you'll see me kind of lay down all of the windows as we move through this build in its entirety. But I kind of went back and forth at first between the living space and this little entryway because, I don't know, the living space, I thought it was going to be the easiest space for me to work on, but it ended up being the kitchen. Like, that was so easy, and the bathrooms were so easy. But as for the living spaces and the bedrooms, that was actually a little bit challenging. So you guys will really see me moving back and forth, trying to really find the best match. Like, that clock was a dead giveaway. I was going to use the bowling night stuff one, but that one was perfect. I think that was from the vintage glamour stuff as well. Behind that little wall there where the fireplace is the dining section. Through this archway is the kitchen, and I just love it. I really love this house and I'm really proud of it, so I hope you guys like it too. But as you can see, this is where I decided to revisit the living room, and I wanted to change it up. I wanted there to be like this older looking sofa that really didn't match color wise, but then have a love seat or like an armchair or something that was also older that didn't match at all. I was going to use that one from Cats and Dogs, but I think I end up actually putting the love seat back from Get Famous because maybe they were able to get a love seat, but they couldn't replace their couch fully yet or something. I also place this chair near the front door just because it's a fun pattern that matches nothing from City Living, as well as that base game lamp. And then I also use that lamp from Vampire Stuff. I was thinking maybe that was like a lamp that someone in the family had passed down since whenever that lamp was released. Like, I don't know, maybe from like the 50s or 60s or something, and it was like this older, almost Victorian looking lamp that they maybe got from like a family member. So I kind of liked that idea. I did use a lot of the artwork though from Get Famous because it's perfect, like literally perfect for a house like this, and it's kind of fancier. So it kind of like upgraded the house in my head a lot. So I really enjoyed using those and the different swatches they come in. I was trying to figure out a way to kind of decorate this little area just because it is a pretty open floor plan, I would say, at least with like the living spaces and whatnot. But I don't know, I didn't really stick with that side table and that wall decoration. I ended up getting rid of it. But the first thing I did was kind of situate the windows in the kitchen, hang some lights outside of that archway, which they look terrible to me, but I think it works perfectly for the style. And the kitchen ends up being so colorful. Like, I use this tile from Parenthood. They have this really kind of terrible like linoleum tile floor or something. And then I gave them bright green countertops because one, it matches the door, which I really liked personally. And then two, it really matches the tile that I used in the kitchen. And it just looks like such a 70s kitchen. Like, these base game cabinets and countertops are perfect for that kind of look. And I also gave them an older stove. So that's one of the base game stoves. That's not really the beat up one, but it's just the cheapest one, but it looked older. So I think for like a time period like this, a lot of the stoves we have wouldn't really match. I think they'd look a little bit too advanced. They also have like an older coffee maker because I wanted to give them something. I'm not quite sure if that is authentic, but It felt right to put it in, and I give them this little picnic basket decoration because I think back in 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s, picnics were still a really big thing and families would go on family picnics on the weekend. So I kind of liked that idea. And of course I had to give them this record player from Get Famous as well. So I get rid of the bookshelf there and I put it over here near the half wall. And I think I actually end up putting some kind of armchair or a poof or something like that near the record player because I was thinking that maybe Dad has all of these old records that his dad used to love and he sits there smoking a tobacco pipe and and listens to them and tries to appreciate them. I also use that box there of files technically because I was thinking it was a box of records and stuff like that. So I thought that that was kind of cute. I also put some artwork above it that's reminiscent of music and musicians. And then I go back to the kitchen just to finalize some of the decorations because I wanted it to be decorated, but just not overly decorated. I really didn't know if we had too many decorations that would be reminiscent of that time frame. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to keep it somewhat minimal. I think the kitchen was bright enough where I didn't have to go too crazy with decorations. Then I also change up the overhead lights to these lights from Get Famous, and I use the Get Famous table and chairs over here in the dining room. I couldn't avoid it. They were way too perfect. I tried to use the bowling night stuffed table, but it was a little too colorful. It didn't really fit a home vibe. It's more of a surprise, surprise, bowling alley vibe. And then I also put these lights over on each side of that piece of artwork, and I end up putting a mirror over here, and there's really nothing else on that wall. I did use this BB Move Hidden Objects, or Move Objects On cheat, not Hidden Objects, and I ended up getting rid of the wall just to make that mirror sit a little bit lower. I've noticed that that mirror, as I've probably mentioned before, hangs really, really high on the wall, and it kind of drives me insane, so I like to do that and just keep it a little bit lower. They also have another kind of full-length mirror on that wall, and I end up putting a bookcase there. And I was so excited I remembered to do this. I was so stoked that I remembered to use the globe bar. I thought it was absolute perfection for a build like this because I feel like a lot of homes in the 50s, 60s, 70s, this 3-decade time period that I keep mentioning, I feel like a lot of homes had bars. It was really, really common to, have friends over and have drinks, or to have drinks just after dinner. It was this big thing. So I thought that that was appropriate. And now I'm working on the very first bathroom. The second I found that green swatch of that toilet, I was like, okay, done deal. We are changing up the color scheme in this bathroom. And I ended up using the exact same tile from the kitchen. And I've actually had a couple of questions about that. Is it realistic to have the same tile in the kitchen and the bathrooms? And to be frank, in the US, I don't really know. I think for the sake of building, it's easier, right? And it feels as though it flows with the house a little bit more, but I don't know if I would necessarily say that it's common. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it common to have the same tile in a kitchen, laundry room, bathroom, all of those kinds of rooms? I don't really know. But as you can see, this bathroom is very colorful, and I do give them a washer and dryer because I think at this point, a lot of families did at least have a washer, maybe not a dryer, so that might be a little bit out of scope for what I was going for, but I liked that it was this vibrant teal color. I just wanted to bring more pops of color to any room that I possibly could. So I ended up keeping them. And then this is just a little hallway. So as you can see, the bathroom / laundry room is off to the left, and off to the right is actually the kids' room. So I was picturing this family did just have one kid, and I wasn't sure if they had a little boy or a little girl, but that child loves green and they like trains and airplanes and stuff like that. I was trying to think of things that would be a little bit more authentic to the time. I was going to go for music or something. So maybe a teenager that loved that new 70s rock and roll, but I ended up just going for a kid who really just liked more so the simple things, the simple toys that we used to have back in the day. I'm a 90s baby, so I can't really say that as if I grew up in the 70s, but I mean, there weren't computers, we didn't have cell phones, all of that stuff. So this kid loved just playing in their room with their little train set, and they loved their model airplanes and stuffed animals. It just seemed very simple. It seemed like a very simple time. And you know what? Maybe a little boring. I don't know. I can't say. I did not grow up in the 70s. But this ends up being their little room. So their bed is green. And I thought that that pattern was very reminiscent of like the 70s. And I give them this little bookcase with just a couple of toys on top of it. And they have a dresser over here in the corner with like a model car. And I actually end up raising this toy train, sizing it up, and then using one of these posts from the toddler stuff to make it look like it's hanging from the ceiling. And I thought it was so cute. I've done that, I think, like once or twice before, not like in this setting, but when I made my auto and aerospace museum, I actually just sized up the toy planes and raised them to the ceiling so it looked as though they were being like put on display from the ceiling. And I wanted to do that here. I thought it was so cute. So I did it with a helicopter as well. They have like a little toy chest and a little robot toy in the corner. And then I just used these, technically I think they're sculptures, right? I think they're considered sculptures of like little train pieces. And I just put them in a little bit of a half circle, like a crescent, to make it look like he has a train set. Oh, I just said he, but the sim, the child sim. I think that they just had like this little train set, and I put a rug down, and then I just put another painting on the wall over here. And that's pretty much it for the bedroom. I think I maybe add like a mirror as well, just to kind of go with that green theme. We went with a lime green. And again, I moved the mirror down a little bit because that one hung a little bit high on the wall too. And looking at how tall Sims are, like I really feel like some of the mirrors just hang way too tall on the wall. Like, are you guys with me on that? Like, am I just crazy? Because now I've used 2 mirrors in this build that seem to just be way too high on the wall for my liking. I don't really know. You'll have to let me know down in the comments down below. But now I'm working on the parents' bedroom, and I went with a little bit more of a consistent color scheme for their room. I think I do end up changing up the curtains from this blue to maybe yellow or even white. I kind of muted their room a little bit, and I'm not really sure why. I think it just came together and felt kind of cozy. They do have this dresser that has some touches of green, and then they also have like this open rack of clothes. And the reason why I did this is because my grandmother, I recall this, it wasn't like, you know, in her home or anything, so it wasn't like a 70s home, but she has had a condo for so long, and she had an entire bedroom that was just clothes on open racks like that. So to me, as weird as this may sound, it like resonated with just something being older and kind of just more of this thrown together style. I really can't even articulate it, but that's what it reminded me of, and I thought it fit perfectly. And then I also decorate on top of the dresser with just a few clutter items. I add a plant in the corner, I believe. I could be talking before I actually put it down, if I do. And I pick out a rug, and this is where I change up the curtains just to mute it, because I thought with the patterns on the curtains and the pattern in the rug, it was a little too much, a little too overpowering. I also used this base game piece of artwork and just tossed like a love seat in the corner because I honestly couldn't think of anything else. The room was a lot bigger than I anticipated, so yeah, I kind of just had to fill it. I swapped out these mirrors with a green mirror real quick, and this is the other bathroom. So as you can see, they're both quote unquote full bathrooms, as they would be considered in The Sims, but I think they're technically like 3/4 bathrooms because of the shower. If we're gonna do like math with fractions, which just gave me like an eye twitch, I think it's like, what, 1.5? Wow, that's embarrassing. Yeah, I think it's 1.5 bathrooms. That's what we're going to go with. But they're full bathrooms. That's all I'm trying to say is you've got a toilet and a place to bathe your Sims in each one, which is nice. And now I'm working on the backyard. So the first thing I did was the landscaping. It felt comfortable because I really didn't know the direction I wanted to take with the backyard. I knew I wanted an outdoor dining section, and there was a lot more space than I realized, actually. I thought that the house was a little bit longer. I thought I was running out of space, but I had a lot more than I thought. So doing some landscaping helped kind of fill it in a little bit more and really showed me the space that I had to work with for, I don't know, like a back patio or just some kind of outdoor activities. Since they do have a kid, I probably could have added something different. I didn't really put any kid-specific activities because, I don't know, I also feel like in the 70s, there was less of like parents or families making their home super kid friendly. Does that make sense? Like you had your room and that's where your stuff was. Like your room was where you could have your toys and everything, but they weren't just like strewn about all over the place in the house because looks really mattered, right? Like if you had guests over, which I think happened maybe a lot more in, you know, previous decades, if you had guests over and you were entertaining as often, you don't want the kids stuff all over the place. And I think the backyard was kind of an extension of that. And I don't really know if that feeling that I have is actually true. Like, I don't know if that was true to the time period, but I would be interested to hear your guys' perspective on that, because that's kind of the feeling that I get. But I'm not sure if it's really accurate. It was kind of like in F is for Family, he has like this TV, and when he wants to watch a show, the dad, like the kids just have to deal with it. Like that's that. And he's like, this is my house and I bought this TV. So when you buy a TV, you can watch what you want. So I feel like that attitude of like, your stuff is yours and it belongs wherever it is. I don't even know. But as you can see, I kind of fenced off some of the backyard. I gave them some gardening plots and just added like a little pathway to nothing out here just to make it look nice. And they have an outdoor dining section, and I don't know, I thought it was really pretty and it's not too overcluttered. I end up putting a grill and just another little tiny seating area here as well. Something a little bit more casual than the dining section. And I think I just kind of tend to a couple more plants and stuff like that. I ended up adding the flip-flop lights behind the dining section because I thought that that was really cute and maybe kind of fit the time. I'm not really sure, but that's pretty much it for the build. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on this one, and I will catch you guys next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.